terrific, terrific. Thanks to all of our speakers, and we have some time right now for some questions from any of you. My
question is, Paolo, how can we get access to this film?
Well, the film is not online because of regulations from film festivals. Most film festivals don't accept films if they are online. So I cannot put it online, but you have access to my Facebook page and Twitter. Yeah, of course, there is a ADAO page and who's promoting the film. So you can stay in touch.
and will it come to the local theater near you?
We are currently waiting to hear back from Washington Short, and we're actually been through 20 film festivals, 19 in the U.S. So, you know, if you stay in touch with the websites and everything, you're gonna see if it's coming close to you.
Good morning. My name's Carmen Tiano, and I'm from Canada, and we've had a horrible history in exporting asbestos. My question is to Dr. Frank. You put up that slide on these emerging countries, Vietnam and some other countries. My question is, considering all these trade deals that are floating around, isn't maybe one of the possibilities in the trade deals to put language on the health and safety? Is that something that Linda or your association has considered? Because there needs to be that part of the trade people negotiating these need to understand that maybe the language needs to be put in the trade deals. So I don't know if anybody has a comment on that, or maybe I'm looking at it too high in the sky.
I think that's a great comment, and I would like to let you know that Brad, Fernand, and I had a meeting with AFL-CIO and the Steelworkers Union, and we're breaking down the silos, so we'd like to have you and your union come on board. We'll be working on that in May. So everyone embraces awareness and prevention, but we need to follow with action, so I'd love to have you be part of that alliance.
Sure, and I'd like to participate.
I think it's ironic, actually, that here in the United States, in contrast to those 50-plus countries, asbestos is still a legally used product, as it still is in Canada, though your new government is working towards changing that. And that one of the arguments I hear when I go to places like Thailand, for example, is, why should we ban it here? You don't ban it in the United States. And so I think I agree with Linda, your suggestion is remarkably good and something we need to think about and do something about. For the very reason that if we can get these smaller countries to stop using it, and even the Chinese to a certain extent have stopped using it in certain products. None of their automobiles can have asbestos now, for example. So there's much to be done, and I think that's a great suggestion.
Yes.
Sure. It's interesting. My wife is Vietnamese, and we went to Vietnam a year ago. And I actually, when some people found out I worked for a major labor organization, I met with some of their version of labor unions. And in Vietnam, the issue of asbestos, believe it or not, is on the radar. It is on the radar. So I've always thought that when it comes to the labor movement in North America and even in Europe, it's not a bad idea to link up with these associations of workers in these developing or developed countries to get the public health issue out there. So as a labor organization, we do have a almost like a mandate to help our brothers and sisters in other countries to get it out there. So I just wish more labor unions would take that perspective, because I know in Vietnam it was an issue.
Well, there's two things about that, and my dear colleague Barry Castleman can perhaps talk further about this at some point, but the Vietnamese have actually found a substitute, which is literally chopping up vines that grow in nature and use those fibers instead of asbestos. But we have another example, and we find from Brazil, and Fernanda is here from Brazil. You have the clash of unions. You have a union that represents the asbestos workers who don't want to lose their jobs. maybe 15,000, but then on the other side you have 300,000 workers who work with asbestos-containing materials who don't want to do that. And so you always have these competing issues. But again, your point about getting the labor movement involved, which is something, for example, that we saw in this country when Dr. Selikoff began work with the insulators and other such examples, is also very helpful and meaningful.
Gentleman right here.
Yeah, Brad Parker from the CFMEU, the construction union in Australia. We need to talk. I'll have a talk with you about what's happening in Vietnam as well. So we've done a lot of work over there with a feeder with Union Aids Abroad in Australia. So but I'll talk to you later about that. My question is for Paolo. So we really need to get access to your film, because what I'd like to do is to give it to all our delegates, our shop stewards, our HSRs, our health and safety reps, and we need to show them en masse about trying to get access to your film. That'd be great, because those stories, as we know, they're very powerful. Look at Bridget's story this morning. If you weren't moved by Bridget's story, well, how could you be moved at all? You haven't got a heart. It was just sensational, Bridget. But so I'd love to get hold of your film. I don't know how we do that, but I'll talk to you later. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Brad, just come back to the website, because Paulo and I have actually been working on forward movement on that script and some other ideas, so we're in collaboration. So come through us while he's screening and we'll all circle back. It's all there.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question for Bridget. You mentioned to me that you hadn't told that story before, and I'm wondering what it was like for you and your family to put your story together.
This was a wonderful experience. I had to delve deep and talk with relatives and look at old photos, and actually Earl and I found each other through Ancestry.com, and that's how he found out that I was related to Clarence Borel. And I, again, stressed over and over, I'm just one of 19 grandkids. There's a bunch of us out there, and we've been here all along, but no one knew to look us up or to know that we're connected with this famous case or what have you. But to answer your question, I have learned so much to go back through my grandpa's life and talk with my mom and relatives to find out more about my grandpa and what a wonderful person that he was. I have certain memories, but I was young. So this has been, I can't replace the knowledge that I now have, and to have to walk through this and learn all this has really been a special thing for me, to have this memory and these stories now that I've collected, and we'll share with my relatives as well, that they can, I've read it to them and just close circle, and we didn't know that about Grandpa. So very neat experience for me. I'll treasure it.
I want to add one comment, because Bridget was brave to write her story. And during this process, Earl and I met Bracy and Marilyn also. And Bracy gave us the insight. We actually went to Missouri through the Ozarks and spent a day there and looked at Clarence's toolbox with the mentholatum that you spoke about. But it is that aspect of sharing that makes us stronger, whether it's through a film or through our written stories. But tonight you're going to have a pleasure of watching this story come out in video format as well, as we recognize your grandpa, which would be very special. And we also have Paul Brodeur's interview. So we have lots of new information that we can use to truly come through that perfect storm, Celeste. We've got it all documented.
Thank you. Another question?
Hi, just to add that there's also a really good film by Kathleen Mullen, who's a Canadian filmmaker, called Breathless, and she documents her father's struggle with mesothelioma, and then she travels throughout parts of the world, from Asbestos, Quebec, when the Jeffrey mines were still operational, through to places like India. And it's a very powerful film, so if people are interested, just to let you know about that film.
Thank you.
Eudes, that's a great point. We're going to make, and the WHO has an excellent chrysotile video as well. So we will, after this conference, put together a media page so that we can all have access to the pieces of, and the streams of video and knowledge that we have. Great suggestion, so we'll put it together after the conference.
Thank you. Another question from the audience? Any further comments from from our panelists?
No, they're saying next session.
All right, terrific. Thank you so much, and thank you again to our speakers.
Great job.